Hello? Can you hear me? Can you see me? If you can see me, somebody saying, did NEPA take light? uh, Hello? Let me see if I can see you, Jules, in the background. If you can hear me, don't worry, I'll bring you on shortly. Just give me a couple of minutes, please. I apologize. Let me just. Yay! What's up? So, what's going on, guys? Welcome to another live session with your boy Franklin. So, today I've got a wonderful lady with us by the name Jules. She's an entrepreneur from Atlanta, United States, who has basically run businesses in Nigeria with, I think, some setbacks, which I would like her to share her story with us. I've got some bullet points for her, and then I'll bring her on shortly in a moment. Okay, so get ready for those of you in the diaspora who are looking to go invest and stuff like that. This will be a fantastic one. So let me invest and stuff like that. Let me pull up. Right. So let me bring Jules on. Jules, you're coming now. Add to stream.
Hey. Uh-oh. Hi, everybody.
Hi. Can you hear me?
Yes, loud and clear.
Right. Hi. Thank you for joining.
Yeah, thanks for having
Right.
me.
Right. Okay. So let's see. Let me adjust my myself. I do apologize because I was trying to get some food in, and then it just kind of ran into a bit of overdrive and stuff, and I was rushing to set up. But we're here now. So
Yeah.
you oh, somebody said Franklin, they were expecting me to wear African attire. I don't have my
Sorry.
native here. Yeah, because I use that for the thumbnail, but never mind, man. So you've got the guidelines, Jules. So
Yeah.
can you start off by introducing yourself to the audience, please?
Yeah. A little bit of background about myself. I am Jules. I run an e-commerce business. I've been in e-commerce for about 10 years now. Um,
Right?
and of course started in Atlanta. Well, I have a typical immigrant story. Came from, of course, Nigeria with just $100,
Right.
like we all, which is a big deal then. um, came from Nigeria and stayed with family friends in Atlanta here, and
Right.
so worked my way through uh, jobs, starting off from a gas station, eventually to a salon, and and so on and so forth. Eventually, I found myself working at Chase Bank, and handling mortgage and all that kind of stuff, and then just not being happy with my job, and and then uh and then I met this guy, who I would always tell about. Oh my gosh, I can't stand, I can't wait to start my own business, and we just talk about business all day long, and eventually, when actually I was in school at the time, so eventually when he got in school as
Right.
well, um, he gave me his student loans. We used it to start a business. And you know, a marriage and two kids later, we're here running our business.
All right. Awesome.
And
So you got
so
married to the dude, right?
you said what?
I said you got married to the dude.
Of course, yeah.
All
Yeah.
right. Great stuff.
Yeah. So it's just been really interesting, running our business, and I started the business. We started the business together here in Atlanta, and then I decided to go visit home. Mind you, I hadn't been home at the time for maybe 10 years at the time. So I left as a teenager, didn't have any contacts except, of course, my mom was there, my siblings were there. So, I went home super nervous. I don't know why I was nervous, but, I went home and just wanted to see how things were. You know what I mean? And I stayed only 2 weeks. But while I was there, I have this notification in front of me. Excuse me, I need to swipe it up. I'm using my phone. But while I was there,
All right.
I noticed that things had changed. There was this internet boom, and people were. I didn't really notice e-commerce at the time because I wasn't looking into that. I just wanted to come home. People were. Things were a lot more different. Things were much easier. I was able to get around, a little bit independently. So I got back to Atlanta. 2 years later, I wanted to go home with my family, and I went home with my family. And
Right.
there, I noticed, and it's funny because Nigeria grows so fast. 2 years later, things had completely changed. E-commerce had started. Instagram was starting to become a big deal in Nigeria.
Right.
I was already doing influencer marketing here and all that kind of stuff. And I'm talking, this was in 2013, 2014. And then my sister told me, hey, why not sell your stuff here? I didn't think of business like that, when I was home.
Right.
And she said, why not sell your stuff here? People will like it, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, nah, I don't know, I don't know. And then all of a sudden, just we started to think about it and talk about it again more and more. My husband and I started to get excited, like, well, you know what? Let's try. Let's just try. And of course, Nigeria was always this, love-hate thing for me because, Nigeria is very intimidating to me.
Sorry, do you have your guidelines, the ones we shared about? I want you to follow that guideline so we don't miss anything.
Yes.
Do you have
I'm following it.
All right, cool.
Yeah. So Nigeria had always been, super intimidating for me, right? And
Right.
then, but I decided to just, first of all, start off with, let me look at how much a commercial property is. Let's see, not how much, but how much you want to rent a commercial property. Then I looked, and I found a website called Nigeria Property Center, NigeriaPropertyCenter.com. There I saw
Right.
commercial properties. You put in your state, you put in the city, and then you find, prices. You find agents. You can go through a specific agent that you like and see if he has other properties that are not listed, and so on and so forth. So that's where I just saw a message. That's where I was able to get an idea on pricing, just kind of get an idea on pricing, so we talked about this. It was just like a fun thing, we went back home, of course, came back to Atlanta. While I came back to Atlanta, I could not sleep. I just kept thinking about it. I put on my business cap and I just super got hyped, super got excited. And then I convinced my husband, once again, to let me, take a little bit about some money that we could stand to lose. Right?
Right.
Stand to lose. And
Okay.
let me just, just take a little bit of that. Let's just see how Nigeria goes. I'm talking 2 weeks later, I was back in Lagos again.
When was this? What year was this? What year was
I would
this?
say this was probably like 2014. I'm thinking 2014. Yeah,
Right.
2014. Because I had just had my son was about 1 or 2 at the time. So 2014. So I was right back in Nigeria. This time I was here for business. I was not there with family. I was here for business, ready. So I went back. I contacted an agent I found on NigeriaPropertyCenter.com. I found a location that I liked. I didn't even do much research, to be honest with you, on market research, and so on, because Nigeria is a little bit different. So I just went off of the faith that let me try this product that's doing well in Atlanta. Let me see if it'll do well in Nigeria. I went there, and of course, when I came back to Atlanta the first time, I found a shipping agent, a guy who would ship my stuff to Nigeria for us. So he did. So while I was in Nigeria, my things arrived in Nigeria. So shipment normally would take about 2 weeks. And at the time was an average of maybe $4 or $4.50 for a pound. So we shipped our stuff to Lagos at the time. Quickly, I got this commercial property. Now, just crazy, crazy.
Sorry, do you mind asking what sort of product was it? Women's clothing, men's
Yeah, it was
clothing,
clothing.
children?
Correct. It was women's
It was what? All right. Okay.
Yeah, it
All
was
right.
women's workout apparel. So that's how I started business. That's why I decided to start business in Nigeria. It wasn't so much super calculated. It was kind of random, but it was an exciting, daring thing. And mind you, this was much more of the heart because I hadn't been home for a long time. I found this success in Atlanta, and I wanted to share that in Nigeria. And
Right.
here I am, renting a property, signing a lease, looking for a carpenter. Now, mind you, when you are in Nigeria, you have, there are handiwork people everywhere. So I found a carpenter.
Right.
Who was referred to me by the caretaker of the building. So this is the thing, when you go there, you want to start a business, or, and so on. You may not know people, but definitely be comfortable asking questions. Definitely feel comfortable asking questions. So I found a carpenter. I found a painter. Mind you, the building was new. It was surprising actually to see buildings that were built to standard in that location. Now, this was when I first came. Okay, so please forgive me for I had very, very low expectations. That's what I'm trying to say. I had very, very low expectations. And
Yeah. Tell your story. Feel free. Don't worry about, just relax, and
I was going for
it's
the
your
ride.
journey. Yeah.
So I was really, so I was there, and as soon as I got the carpenters working, meanwhile I'm talking to people. Do you know anyone, any girl, anybody that can, help me, in the store and things like that? People were introducing me to people who they knew. I was doing interviews. When I wasn't doing
Sorry,
interviews,
somebody's asking how much was your rent for like the commercial
for the commercial property, my rent at the time, and I'm talking about 45 square meters. It was 45 square meters. I paid 3 million naira. Now, I'm new. I didn't have comparisons. I loved the location. It was beautiful. So I was going off of that, right? And I did have money to spare at the time. So
right.
I'm just giving you the beginning of my situation as a rookie, okay? So I made sure I did a lot of internet research and checks and balances.
Did you have anyone on ground as that gave you pointers that said, "Oh, do this," or "Speak to that you could benefit from," or was it just you yourself?
It was me.
Doing...
It was me and my sister. She was also new to what I was doing. She was already in Nigeria. She was my younger sister, so she wasn't so much into business. So a lot of the research that I was doing was just straight up hustle, internet, Google, and constantly just no sleep. Just going. I don't even know why. I don't even know where the energy came from, honestly, other than the fact that this was such an exciting thing to do, right? I basically was using myself as a guinea pig because I could afford to do that.
So you paid 3 million. Was that for 1 year, or how long was that?
It was for 1 year.
1 year rent.
For 1 year, correct. 1 year's rent.
Wow.
The years there, the rents there are yearly. The reason why it was 3 million at that location is because it was a prime location. Okay, it's just
what
like Atlanta renting a property. Correct. I'm sorry.
What part of Lagos was that?
It was at Victoria Island. That is like one of the most expensive locations, in Lagos, and Lagos in itself is already super expensive. Now, when I did eventually rent a location in another place, it was actually 600,000 for 1 year.
Right.
And this was in Ikeja. I rented a location in mainland Lagos, 600,000 for 1 year, the same size. All right. So, while I was trying to make sure the store was set up, I hadn't registered my business. Then I realized, okay, you know what? Let me register I actually wanted to open a bank account. I couldn't open a business bank account without a business license. So I went to City Hall in Lagos. So City Hall is where you get your business license. Actually, what is it called? You go to City Hall to get your business license. So in that process, I went there, stood on the lines, went through the whole thing. And mind you, as a, someone who was coming back home, I had these high expectations of, no, unrealistic. Let me say unrealistic expectations. So every little thing would upset me. Why are you
right.
crossing the line? Like it was a lot of those little petty things that I was expecting them to act the way people would act in Atlanta. So rookie, right? Anyway, whatever it was,
Yeah,
whatever it was, because I'm a Lagosian. I grew up in Lagos. Okay, so
right.
none of that was new to me. I definitely could get in there with the best of them, right? Um, Registered my business. Eventually, got to the line and registered my business. Went to the bank trying to open a business account. Now, to open a business account, you need a current account. There are two kinds of accounts that they open, regular people, I guess. So I was told you need either a savings account, which is just to receive money, maybe salary or whatever, and a
Right.
current account. A current account can only a current account can qualify as a business account, right? Trying to open a current account, so that I could also be able to send money to myself from the US, because it's a current account that you need in order to receive wire transfers in Nigeria. You cannot receive wire transfers or dollar or euros or whatever in a savings account, but only a current account. So in order to open a current account, I needed two referrals. Where was I going to get two referrals? I didn't know nobody except my younger sister, who also didn't have a current account. So I stood in front of the bank and I was talking to every single person that was coming in the bank. Please, you have a current account? Please, can you register? Please, can I? That's what I did. I was there for almost 3-4 hours under the hot sun. Got one person, got two people. I registered my current account. I was in this hustle mindset. Okay, I was ready. I didn't care. So this was what I was. These were the things I was doing. Um, so we got things in place. I started to contact the radio station to find out how I can market my business. Okay, I basically took the guidelines that I had in Atlanta and I duplicated it 100% in Nigeria. Now, when I wanted to do a grand opening for my store in Atlanta, we had people come, we had celebrities come, we had radio stations come. People showed up. People were lined up outside the store around the back. It was huge. It was amazing. It was fun. I did that in Nigeria. Guess what? No one showed up. No one. Not one person. I spent all this money for radio. I did all this activation. No one showed up. But fast forward, about a week and a half into the business, and we started to advertise on the radio, started to advertise on the blogs. At the time, blogs were big
Right.
in Nigeria.
Right.
As not as much as Instagram is now. I started to advertise on the blog. Boom, sales, calls. It was crazy. What I learned from that was immediately, I learned something really quickly. The Nigerian crowd responds differently. Okay. I learned immediately
Right.
that the consumer in Nigeria is not the same as the consumer in the US. You might have a good product, you might have a winning product, but you also have to take into consideration the consumers in the different locations. You know,
Right.
let me see, make sure I'm not going off a topic. Am I staying on topic? Am I staying on topic?
I was gonna say to you, for the benefit, for to help you, and also for the benefit of the people that are listening, so we don't lose them. Let's please follow that guideline
Yeah.
so that
Okay.
you can give it as much as possible.
So
And don't worry, we'll get to a point where I'm gonna take questions, and Jules can answer your questions. Okay,
gotcha.
so just stick to the guidelines so that we can all be in sync and enjoy your story. Let's go.
All right. So the challenge, like I was explaining to you guys, it was challenging to get people to come to the store because we were new. They didn't know us yet. They didn't feel the need to invest in that much time to come to us. The reason why I say that is there's a lot of traffic in Lagos, and the traffic issue is such a huge matter. It's such a huge problem for people when they're trying to decide, when to leave their house and things like that. It's just a huge issue. So as a result, a lot of people work their lives around the traffic time and things like that. And I eventually had to learn that. So staffing in Nigeria, what I eventually learned was after getting the, hiring someone, what I eventually learned was, oh, there's a staffing agency. There are staffing agencies, you know. So eventually, I registered with those staffing agencies, and what those staffing agencies do is, actually, the one that I was working with, and the one I still work with, they provide two kinds, actually three kinds of services. So it's either they can help you shortlist the candidate that you want at a premium fee, right? And then you
Right.
will just interview the person, or they will create a job listing for you, which you log into their system and see all the resumes, right? And you
Right.
contact them. You will shortlist yourself, kind of like Indeed.com. You shortlist yourself. You'll, contact them, and you just kind of vet on your own. The other option they have as well is, after they have shortlisted the person that you want, or actually no, the other service that they provide is they will provide you a candidate, of course, that matches what you want, and then just like a staffing agency, you pay them, they pay that person every week. So these are different typical services that are provided in Nigeria for staffing. Okay, so that became made my life much easier. Um, so I already told you guys about how I eventually opened my business account. When we first started, I registered
So,
with
sorry, I was going to ask you. You said you registered your company and did the. I understand the setbacks with the business account. You sorted that out. With registering your company, did you find that process easy? Was that good, or did you have any challenges?
it was very easy, very easy. The only hard part was standing in line, and it was hot. It was very easy. I have no complaints
Right,
about that at all. Very, very easy.
right,
Straightforward.
okay,
There was no,
all right.
straightforward as well. Um, what else? So and then I found out about a company that processes credit card payments called Interswitch. Interswitch, I contacted them, got the what is it?
Are they based in Lagos?
Yeah, they are based in Lagos, and I think they're not just based in Nigeria, but a lot of the credit card, they are a payment gateway, and many banks go through Interswitch. So I kind of went through Interswitch to set up my credit card processing. They gave me an equipment and all that kind of stuff, set it up at my store. So we were good to go. We were good to go at the time. And, people were starting to come to the store. Very few people were interested in buying online. The more we advertised, the more they came to the store. And that was how we continued to manage our business at the time. You are able to get, well, also what I did get, because there were times I was traveling back and forth. TV connected. Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, yeah. Go on, go on. Sorry, it's my fault for me. Go on.
All right, so excuse me. I got CCTV connected. I was able to watch people on my phone through the app. I was able to watch people on my phone. In fact, my CCTV guy was also able to help me connect a microphone as well. I needed to hear conversations that were going on. I needed to just be aware.
So, in order for you to have your CCTV, like when you're recording live and stuff, that mean you had to also have like a monthly internet package.
Correct.
For that to work.
Correct. So yes, I did.
Because we got similar thing. We've got similar thing here in the UK, in the US, whereby you can check your CCTV remotely and stuff like that.
Exactly. So that's available in Nigeria as well. I didn't know at the time. So I got there are many internet service providers, from the regular cell phone companies. They will provide internet as well. So we got that.
Right.
And then down the line, I eventually found even better internet service providers. So if you're starting out, of course, they're everywhere. You can, register for a modem and all that kind of stuff. 10,000 naira a month for about I don't remember how many gigs. I think 10 gigs, 10,000 naira a month. I think that's how much it is right now till now. So I've used SpectraNet. There's a company called SpectraNet, Swift, Smile, 9 Mobile. All these companies are available right now to register with, to get their service. I also was able to get registered 2 cell phones at the time, because landlines are not as reliable, unfortunately. So you register cell phones, but also because A lot of business is conducted via WhatsApp in Nigeria. A lot of business is conducted via text messaging. So that was, how we conducted business.
So your CCTV package allowed you to also record voice as well as images, right?
Well, actually, I was able to get a separate microphone. At the time, I didn't know that I could get a camera that also had mic and everything. Down the line, I found out that I could get a camera that had everything. That I didn't have to do all that extra stuff.
Great
So
stuff.
I was able to, just while at the airport, I'm listening, I'm watching my staff. While in Atlanta, I'm watching my staff. So I was able to, do all that, because you do need to be able to actually, to run a business in Nigeria, you have to kind of micromanage.
Yeah.
People live by a different set of rules, and you do need to be able to, if you can't live there right away, you definitely need a lot of accountability measures in place to be able to make
Mm.
sure people do the tasks and everyday tasks that are required.
So how did you manage your staffs in terms of day to day handling of your business to keep tabs, particularly on your finance daily takings and stuff like that? How did you manage them effectively?
Well, when I registered the bank account, as soon as I noticed I was able to register one bank account, one business bank account, I went and registered another business bank account. So I registered about three accounts, right? So a lot of the ways people make payment in Nigeria, a lot more people are comfortable doing wire transfers, bank transfers, bank to bank transfers,
Yeah.
as opposed to card transactions. Nigerians are not, the Nigerian consumer right now is getting there, but they're not
Mm.
yet super comfortable with card transactions. Okay. So
Mm.
the mistake I made, I had my website set up for the Nigeria end of it, and I would ask people to go process their orders online when they would call us trying to, order online or over the phone.
Mm.
Um, they weren't processing their orders. They weren't placing no orders. Okay, they were not giving their card information to process anything. They didn't feel comfortable doing that.
Right.
Eventually, I found out that they're more comfortable you providing them with your banking information, which is 100% safe. No one
Mm.
can take anything from your bank without your, no one can, because you have your private information and your in fact, the banks have two-step authentication in order for you to be able to access your account. So most businesses provide their banking information for wire transfers to occur. And this is how
Right.
I also conducted business with vendors. I would have my employees go to the vendors, buy something, whatever, and I'll pay the vendor directly while I was here in Atlanta. I'll process orders, process payments from my Nigerian bank. They all have apps on my phone, and I'd make payments. As well as
Right.
when payments came in, I confirmed the payments myself. Okay,
Right.
every single payment that came in, that's why I got super overwhelmed. Every single payment that came in, I confirmed all these payments myself for years. Okay, so I would get the alert of, for the payment while I'm here in Atlanta. I'll message them, payment received. This was our constant transaction every
So
time.
you were pretty much reconciling every of your
Yes.
daily transaction and keeping tabs. Did you have anybody on ground back home that was inclined in terms of in terms of dealing with your business account? Was it you handling it yourself?
Yes, it was me handling it myself. And then, of course, eventually I hired an assistant who would, what is it? I hired an assistant who would manage the staff for me. Now, eventually, at first, I had, a family member help supervise what was going on. But
Family
eventually,
member.
yes, I had a family member.
Was that a good idea?
Um, it was good while it lasted. Eventually,
Ah.
we had to amicably separate business from family because I had a business to run.
Ah.
Thankfully, I had this staffing agency that provided me with staff. I got someone so that there would not be any sentiments, right, or emotions when there's correction. They know this is business, strictly business, right? So it was very, very beneficial on both parts. Super, super, super beneficial. It helped me move as quickly as I needed to, and focus on what was
So
at hand.
based on what you've said so far, what you're effectively saying is, for those that are watching, if anyone is contemplating on using like these staffing agencies, because some people might not even know. So you're saying those staffing agencies are quite reliable. You got your money's worth. So what do you think?
Absolutely, absolutely. They I've used them for 5, 6 years now. Beyond
Right,
reliable. Beyond when job listings are listed, put out there, we get almost like 200 applications. I've used their service on both parts: job listings, temp, and also the shortlisted professional hires. I've been able to
right,
hire web developers in Nigeria through the staffing agency. I've been able to hire about 3 web developers, app developers, graphic designers. I was able to hire my staff, my personal assistant through them. And that helped me be able to be a little bit more, take a little bit more of a break. You know what I mean? But still, I still had to be there. I still had to I still had to micromanage. Still, I still had to watch, and um make sure people were being accountable. You know what I mean?
Do
Um,
you have any? Are you able to share the name of that agency so people can hopefully? Are you happy to do
yes,
that?
the name of the agency is called Jobberman. Is one of the most popular ones. Jobberman. There's another one called Rovidana.
That
Rovidana.
government.com, is it .com or .ng?
I really don't know. I've actually, I think, let's try jobberman.com. It might be
Right.
jobberman.com.
Because
Or
I
you can
know a
just
lot of
Google
Nigerian
Jobberman.
companies always use .ng. Right.
Jobberman. Jobberman. We
Yeah.
will help provide staffing for any service that you need. You will be assigned an account manager who will deal with you directly. They will send you an invoice after you've given them your specifications. Once you
Right.
make payment, then your listing or shortlist, your staff shortlist, your shortlist is provided. Um, in addition to that, not only do they provide for that premium service, not only do they provide a short list of the staff or people you want to interview. If the person you hire does not work out within, I think, a matter of days, you can request a replacement. Okay, I have had the best service with Jobberman, guys. The best service.
That's
Absolutely reliable. Absolutely
that's
reliable.
good. That's good. So I'm looking at the bullet points here for you. I said something about, you've talked about setting up staffing and all that. So what are the challenges that you faced, the setbacks? Any challenges and setbacks you want to talk about
Um,
in terms of running your business back in Nigeria?
Challenges. Let's see. Um, there's so many. The way you do, you have. There's a huge accountability is a huge problem. Okay.
Hmm.
If you're
Accountability.
not there, there's this assumption there can be, and I'm not saying it's the same with everyone, but people tend to be a little bit more lax, unlike maybe some other societies or what I was used to with running a business here in the US. It was much easier for me to have people work remotely, or me work remotely while people were working at the store or working at the warehouse and things like that. I didn't have to be with my staff every day in order for them to carry out their everyday tasks. People are a little bit more lax, it's just like the African thing, life is easy, relax, things like
So
that.
did you deal with staff lateness and stuff like that?
Absolutely. I did have I dealt with staff lateness, and then I eventually got a remote service that would register their clocking in. So they clocked in either with uh, their QR codes or whatever code whenever they came to.
Ah, can
Yeah,
you? I like that. I like the sound of that, because that's, you see, these are the technicalities that diasporans, right? So the reason I'm trying to pick those things out is these are the information, because with knowledge comes power. You'd agree with me. people might not be aware of QR codes, because I've had so many people would say, you know what, you have staffs, and then they realize that the staff didn't turn up today, or then when they catch them out, they lie and say, my mom fell down the stairs, and then you realize that staff it didn't even bother to open the.
I had that too. I had that too. But
So
I
how
had
did you
that.
manage it?
Yeah, I had that. Okay, so there are different, I guess, different levels of staffing. I never had that with the professional ones who were the customer service reps or the supervisors or managers. I never had that problem. Actually, I never did, because we had put a lot of things in place, right? When we hire staff, we have their information. Not only do we have their information, we also have family member information to, and then we also have them sign. We have their information. Family members, where do they work? Where do the family members work? Evidence of where they really do work. Where do they live? Not just you. Where does that person live? So we have all this information to be able to, let you know this is serious. You know,
Right.
they go through orientation training and things like that to let them know that this is serious. So I never had that with the professional staff, but I did have that a couple of times with the dispatch riders that we eventually got. I had that with dispatch riders. Sometimes they would show up, oh, I've been sick, oh, I didn't show, all that kind of stuff. We'll let them go. We'll hire another one. I definitely had very, very little allowance for, I was very structured. I am a very
Right.
structured person. So, anybody got time for that? So yeah, we did what we needed to do. These were things that like any business though, like any business, because it can happen here in the US. Trust me, it's happened in the US. So it's actually, let me just even be real. It's not fair to just say, oh, I had that happen in Nigeria. I had it happen here in the US. Okay, I had it happen here in the US. It happens everywhere, you know. um so so um so you put in your disciplinary actions, like maybe you choose to fire the person, or you give a warning and things like that, and then eventually do what you need to do.
So so what you're saying is you gave out employment contracts to your staffs. Did
Yes,
you?
yes, we
Right.
gave out contracts, and we also did orientation to go over what you're reading and what you're signing. We also had guidelines. We had orientation, to dos and to do lists and things like that to let you know what you're getting into.
Right. Right.
Yeah, and that
Talk about
structure
that.
really helped me with that.
Talk about that QR codes you were talking about earlier. How did that help you manage things a lot more effectively? How did that work for you?
So the QR code is an app. If you can access it online, you can access it on what is it, on an iPad or an iPhone, which we downloaded on all the devices. I eventually started to, okay, eventually I realized that Shopify works in Nigeria. It was the same Shopify I was using in the US, the same Shopify I eventually started to use. I had to create a duplicate website, one for the US
Right.
and one in Nigeria, that accepted, that showed currency in Naira. I didn't process the payment with Shopify, but I processed the payment with the bank, because the bank eventually provided me with a what POS machine. That's what they call it. They call it a POS machine. These are like almost like cell phone sizes. They're usually free. They were free then. They eventually
Where you
started to
put your
charge.
ATM cards in.
Correct. So, and they are mobile. So eventually I started to use that. Um, so on the iPad that we had, the tablet that we had for the store, the employees could use that to log in, or use the phones to log in, to clock in for work. While I would see that,
Ah,
I would log in and see that, oh, okay, this person has clocked in, they clocked in on time, or they didn't clock in on time, and why were you late, and things like that. Okay, eventually this became the job of the supervisor to handle. This is how serious I was. I also required one of the staff to record the login of everyone for the day, even if I could see it. I still require them to record that and send it to me via text. I wanted to see who was coming in at what time.
right.
So these were the things. So that service, they would log in with their QR code or a code for the day, and they could clock out for break. I could monitor how long they were out for break, because they all had an hour break or two 30-minute breaks. So we broke them apart like that.
Right.
They worked 5 days a week, off 2 days. Um,
Right.
and yeah, and that's how we run the business.
Right.
Um, the
Fantastic.
store
Any
was
other
open from
setbacks?
Monday to Saturday as well.
Any other setbacks? Or that's it pretty much. No
Oh no
challenges.
no 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 no. There were setbacks.
You didn't have any like any local, like government persons or authorities
Yeah,
trying to
that's
extort
what I was gonna
you.
say. I did have a government person come in, and they were requesting payment. Payment for what? You have a business, you have a sign outside. So if you have your sign, you create your store sign and you put it outside, you do need to pay for that. The good thing is, just wait for them to come, because you may not know who. Because I did that. I went to a local office trying to pay. Guys, I found someone called Kosoko. I gave Kosoko 10,000 naira. Kosoko was sitting in an office. So I gave Kosoko 10,000 naira. This money disappeared. 10,000 naira is what? 30,000, whatever. That's the only 419 situation that I ever experienced. Okay. So this is me not doing my research. But they will come to your store, they'll ask for payment, and diligently, they came every year. Okay. They came every year. You needed to pay for the sign every year. They're not asking for anything else but that. But that.
Right, right.
Every store every store has their responsibility to do that. Okay. And that was it regarding that. I
You
never
didn't
had
have
any
all
other
this.
complaints.
You didn't have all these sanitation, environmental bills, and all these so-called area boys and trying
No,
to
I
take
didn't.
advantage.
I didn't. Not at all.
Great
Because
stuff.
I didn't
Great.
open in a market. If you
Because
open
the
in
reason I said
any of the
that,
markets,
the reason I said that is it's a very, unfortunately, in Africa, Nigeria, which we're talking about now, whereby as soon as maybe what word is gone around or they catch a whiff that, hang on, you're from overseas, it might, the next thing they think of is how they can extort you or take advantage and stuff like that. So you didn't have any of
absolutely.
those
Of
issues,
course I
right?
did. Of course I did. Um, I would say the rent that I paid 3 million for. I eventually found out that okay, I could have gotten something even cheaper than that. So after
Ooh,
1 year, I moved out JJ to a better one that I taken my time to find. Okay, but it's part of me paying my dues. You know what I mean? I've
right,
experienced the same. You can experience the same thing here in Atlanta as well. To be honest with you, um, but that's and then you experience people trying to price gouge, but not as much. You can negotiate your pricing, you can find someone else, but you also need to know you get what you pay for. You
yeah,
get
yeah.
what you pay for. So, and then I'm a negotiant. Okay, I can argue and drag it with all of them. Okay.
Somebody's saying, how did you deal with things like power supply? Did that impact your business? Did you have any setbacks? Like with
Yeah.
you having TVs and all these things. So what happens? Were you constantly running on generators, or did you have an inverter in place? What sort of arrangement did you have in terms of dealing with that? Because if you run business in Nigeria, power supply is a major, major thing on the top of the list. So how did you deal with
Correct.
that?
So this is 100% dependent on the location that you're renting your commercial property. Now, with the first location and like any other location in that area, VI, Ikoyi, um, what is it, Lekki, Aja, they provided power. Okay,
Hmm.
the way it works, you pay the actually, yeah, you pay a premium per year for power supply. They
Right.
handle it. So if there's power outage, they will turn on the generator for you. I never really went without power. Of course, there would have been 30 minutes without power and things like that. But I didn't really have to worry about that because they had generators that could power the whole building, and that was their job. And they did their job.
Right.
um and that's what I always went for. I always made sure I never got a place that did not have that type of service. But you
Right.
do have to pay for it. You do have to pay for it. Some people charge you quarterly, some charge you for the whole year, but this is a service that is provided. And that's the best thing I ever did.
Right. That's great then. So let me see. We've talked about you dealing with staffs and all that stuff. So let's talk about So how did you then grow from, when you started? You've talked about the groundwork, all the things you had to put in place, your rent, putting staff in, and all that stuff, which is great. So how did you then grow from zero to then say making profits and all that? And because you said the other day that you had about three branches, if I'm correct.
Correct. Yeah.
Right.
So we continued to advertise through the blog because I noticed that was the most valuable. We did advertisements through radio, not as wasn't as much. We advertised through some movie theaters, not as much. The biggest at the time were the blogs. Um, so business started to grow. People were coming to purchase. Mind you, it was really all super exciting to me. Okay, it was really all super exciting to me. My business in Atlanta was powering the business in Nigeria. Even with what I put in, it was still powering the business in Nigeria because
Right.
because um so eventually it grew, it started to support itself. Okay, eventually it
Right.
started to support itself. Then I decided, hey, I wanted a location on the mainland because of traffic. Many customers who wanted to come physically just did not want to come to Lekki, and they want to be able to purchase directly. So we got a location on the mainland, which was 3-4 times cheaper than the location on the island. Island,
Of
guys,
course.
is
Of
where
course. Of course.
supposedly um, wealthier Nigerians supposedly get, live, I would say. Mainland is starting to become, actually it has always been really, really good, but things that are just a little cheaper there. So we got a location. So we got our second location at that
Right.
place. Mind you, I'd already gone through the motion of my whole setup. I knew, to set up CCTV, blah, blah, blah. We did the same thing on the mainland location. When
Mm.
we got Lagos down pack, we felt like we had Lagos down pack. We got a location in Abuja. Um, and of course that was with the assistant that I hired. I'd have my staff. I had people that I designated to do these things, to go to these places that I couldn't go while I was here. So they would go to these places, look at, of course we did our research online first, how much were properties and things like that. So eventually got a place in Abuja, did the same setup, duplicated the same thing, advertised, let the Abuja customers know we're now here. While I was in Nigeria, I would go to or attend a lot of seminars. So in
Right.
Lagos, there are a lot of seminars about business. There, I met companies, logistic companies that did deliveries. Okay, they delivered your goods. So then I could start to do e-commerce pretty well. Then, um, would customers would purchase, make wire transfers, would deliver their product same day or next day. They were always super reliable, super professional. No, I was really amazed, guys. I was absolutely amazed. I had a designated account manager again who would discuss with my, staff who handled logistics, and I got billed every month. We made payment, no problem. They provided diligent people to come pick up products to deliver. They delivered all over the country. They delivered even in the most remote places in Lagos. We had people purchasing, and we could deliver all over the country, guys. I was
Nice.
absolutely blown away. And
Nice.
and this is just one of many. There are many logistic companies that provide this service and growing and growing. We eventually got our own motorcycles, and we started to deliver within Lagos alone, locally, because we wanted to be able to do same day deliveries very fast and as quickly as we needed to. Um, and then we allowed that company handle our out of state orders. So when we had that down pat, we opened in Abuja. From Abuja, we opened in Port Harcourt. We're running 4 stores. Mind you, I'm waking up in the morning, making sure I'm checking up on staff, making sure I'm checking my CCTV. I have 2 children under 2. Eventually, I got overwhelmed. I could no longer manage to do this. You know, um,
You moved. Will you say what? I mean, I understand, and the reason I want to chip this in is very important. Okay, because you mentioned that day, and I'm a parent myself, and the only reason never met you before, but I am very sensitive to the part of being a parent. And I will emphasize on this because it's very easy for people, some might misconstrue that, oh, why is it that you had a big, thriving business in Nigeria, or why did you just suddenly pull out? But the reason I want to make that emphasis is the fact that when you're raising family, when you have young, particularly young children, it's
Mhm.
very easy for them to change the course of things overnight, and you just
Absolutely.
have to pay attention to that. So you crack on with what you're saying anyway.
Yeah. So when I first went to Nigeria and started, right, all these things I was telling you, I was standing in front of the bank trying to get people who would, be a referral for me. I had a 1-year-old at home, and thank God for my amazing husband, super patient. He was with the kids while he was running the business in Atlanta. I'm here, MIA in Nigeria, hustling because I'm trying to get in touch with my roots, and I was having an amazing time, but I missed my kid, my son, so much. Within that first year I went to Nigeria almost 6 times, just back and forth mommy. I was out of the country so much, you know
Hmm.
um and then while we were getting the Abuja location and Port Harcourt and all these places, I had my second child. Things changed. I couldn't possibly continue to be up at 2 o'clock every morning. 2 o'clock, 2 o'clock
Wow.
every morning. I'm handling staff here. I'm handling staff in Nigeria. Absolutely overwhelmed. I needed to make a decision between money or my kids. Okay. And
Yeah.
I became so unhappy. I couldn't handle all the pressure and all the stress. And to this day, I remember when we got to this day, the landlord of one of the stores just
Right.
he thought I was crazy when I was pulling back. Eventually I decided to just start to pull back. We closed one store and started to operate strictly online. He thought I was crazy because we had customers coming. So I'm trying to encourage you guys. Business did not stop because we didn't have customers. Business stopped because I needed to choose between my children and money. Okay. And my children, thank God, came first. So I mean, come first. so um, so now what I take with me is, oh, I know how to start again when I'm ready. When I'm ready, I know how to start again, like that. I eventually was able to learn how to get staff to work virtually from home. So in order to get staff working from home, they have phones. Okay, the phones can, of course, the Wi-Fi, the what is it, the hotspot on the phone can provide
They,
Wi-Fi service on
yeah.
the computers. The good thing was we already had laptops and computers that we had at the store. So I dispersed the laptops to the staff, and they were able to work from home, attending to customers and things like that. Um, uh, of course, the internet was connecting them. Now, you do provide, almost everyone has a generator. Excuse me. You do provide some money for, what is it, gas, fuel, so they can fuel their generator, so it can run during working hours, for you. um what else? Yeah, you know eventually I also decided that I think I want to do something else. Okay, if I'm making this life decision, I want to do something else. This is not what I want to do. But it was an amazing experience. It was a shocking experience. I definitely
Mm.
walked very carefully, and luckily for me, I didn't have that many bad experiences because I dealt with people professionally. I wasn't trying to
Right.
cut any corners. I wasn't trying to go, oh, who do you know? No, 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 no. Yeah, who do you know in the aspect of on a professional level. I wasn't. I avoided any, I would say, family type situation, unless it was
Right.
a professional connection.
Well, you
So a
know what?
family member knows
Would
a
you
professional.
say? Would you say, like, from the jump? I like what you said earlier. There was no family involvement. There was no sentiment, because one of the number one, or let me say, one of the prime setbacks that a lot of diasporans, regardless of the type of business, maybe you want to go sell beans or whatever in Nigeria, is when you have family members entangled in your business processes. And what happens is they tend to keep tabs on your finances, how much you're making, and then that might just eventually destroy the business, or even pose a major, how do I say,
Setback.
set back to even yourself in terms of safety and any dangerous thing that might happen? So you didn't have any of those issues.
Well, okay, it looks like it was smooth for me because I had already started running a business in Atlanta for a while. Okay, so
Right.
I kind of duplicated the same processes that I used, the same methods that I used, the same accountabilities like the clocking in and the checking up on them. There are times I could take over their computer and check up on the computer to make sure staff was not doing anything else other than what they needed to do. Of course, I did catch a couple of things which I removed, then either remove staff, continued on with my business. I was very, very,
Nice.
very business minded, and that was how I went about it. Black and white, hardly gray. I just went very, very black and white about it. Um, I avoided any family situation, and that may have been why there weren't that much sentiment. I was able to eventually, because at first I needed family to help me feel safe in managing things, but eventually I separated that and focused strictly on the business. The employees knew it was business. Everyone knew it was business. I never delayed on paying them because that was also another thing that many people go through, lack of payment when it's time for salaries and things like that.
Right.
I made sure I was 100% diligent. That's one thing my staff members can say. 100% diligent over the years
So
on people's
you
payment.
didn't have that habit of like owing staffs for 2, 3, 4 months and all that stuff.
No, I didn't have that habit at all. Um, because I didn't want anybody to mess with my stuff. So, I mean, I couldn't do that with the Americans. Why would I do that with Nigerians? You know what I mean?
Well,
So,
people. Unfortunately, you'll be surprised. I personally know a couple of people where, like you said, like yourself, who have lived abroad, run ABC businesses, and they've done well, and then they go home. Like you said at the start of this, when people know that, oh, you know what, I can get away with this, I've got the upper hand, lack of accountability, what are you going to do about it? Some people, not even to do with the fact that, oh, maybe the business is not generating money. I have personally seen businesses in Nigeria that are genuinely generating good income, but they will deliberately just rip off their staffs. It happens a lot,
yeah. Oh,
and they
yeah.
do it because of they can get away with it.
Yeah. I heard of those situations. I didn't want any of that. I didn't want to take parts in any of that. Um, and I didn't get involved in that because I just wanted things to be run a certain way, and I didn't want to be the reason why it wasn't run that way. Okay, if I can't be there, I need them to be able to not feel like, oh, I owe them anyway, so let them just take $5, 5 naira or 10 naira, things like that.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
That was the reason.
So,
Um,
someone asked, did your constant surveillance make your employees uneasy? Like
um,
with your cameras and all that stuff.
yes. Well, eventually they got comfortable with the cameras, because everywhere has CCTV in Nigeria. Best believe everywhere has CCTV in Nigeria. They weren't
Most places,
aware at the
yeah.
time that I could hear conversations. They weren't aware, but they were aware that I could see.
Ah,
Yeah, they were aware that I could see, but they were not aware at the time that I could hear conversations. I needed to be able to hear conversations if I can't be there. But even with then, I would strongly advise anyone who's considering starting a business in Nigeria, please do go there and stay there for yourself.
hmm,
It's much easier while you're there to be able to run a viable business, which you can run. You can run a viable business that will support you and your family 100%.
right. Fantastic. Um, let me see. So, what's your advice, right? In few seconds, bang bang. What's your advice? Don't worry if you're watching me, if you can hear me. Once we cover the couple of bullet points left, you'll have the opportunity to ask Jules, a few questions, and then we call it a day. Okay, so just bear with me so she gets the chance to express herself, and then once we're done, we go into Q&A. So, what would be your advice for those, the aspirants who are intending to take the leap to Nigeria or Africa as a continent, whatever part of Africa they want to go into to start their business? What would you say to them in a couple of bullet points?
I would say save a little bit of money for your ticket. I'm just being as the first thing that I would do is you can always start with an Airbnb. You know, if you're thinking about accommodation, Airbnbs, there are lots of Airbnbs with lots of
Sorry,
reviews
I didn't catch that. You said save a little bit of money for what?
for your ticket.
What, to come back?
No, to go. You know, people who have
Oh,
not
right,
been
right.
to Africa before. You can start off with an Airbnb. You know, you can start off. Okay, let me start with. Let's say you have never been to Africa. You don't even know one person in Africa. You're not even African. Okay, contact the consulate of whichever country you want to go to. Actually, let's rewind. Observe, research via Instagram or Google the characteristics of each country. Nigeria is
Right.
a business oriented country. Everyone is hustling, everyone is into business, everyone, honestly, I'm not lying. On you know, when you if you get a store in a business plaza, everyone is serious. Everyone is coming back home. Everyone has lived somewhere for 20 years and they just came back. Everyone just came back. You know, don't just take people's words for it, but do research, find
Right.
out what the energy of each country is. Ghana is known
Hmm.
for a lot of African Americans definitely love to go to Ghana. They love to repatriate to Ghana. So I understand it. It's much easier. They're a little bit more easygoing compared to Lagos. That's like just hustle, 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 hustle. Reason why I went to Nigeria. Nigeria is familiar to me. I'm from there. I can speak the language. I can hustle and fight, whatever. So I was comfortable with that.
That's your
Um,
territory, right?
so yeah, absolutely. So check the the energy of the country that you're going. You know, some countries are a lot more artistic. Some countries are a lot more Africa. Your idea of Africa. Some countries are more about that. Nigeria is a little bit more. Lagos is a little bit more of a metropolis, the African kind of metropolis, and they have a hustler mindset. Someone actually told me that I probably would love Ghana, you know, because a lot more structured and straightforward, unlike Nigeria that's like this. You know what I mean? But for some reason, I kind of love the struggle. You know, I love the hustle and the fight. You know, with Nigeria. But if you want, Nigerians are spenders. Nigerians are spenders. So if you're bringing a service, a business to Nigeria, make sure that it's a service that they really care about. Do not think because your service is successful or your business is successful here or wherever you are that it will automatically be successful in Nigeria. Do a little bit of research, which you can do online. You can just hashtag and look for Nigerian companies that are selling the same thing. Reach out to them like you are a customer. Find out how much people are willing to pay for that service, and then you can go from there. As a non-Nigerian or non-African or whoever, go to start from Airbnb. Your Airbnb host can tell you something. Because even if I had family in Nigeria, a lot of my help and insight came from asking people on the road. Every single person I asked. Everybody I knew, you know someone, you know about this, you know about that. Anywhere I went, when I went to radio stations, I asked people, you know. And from someone, I met someone, I met someone, I met someone who all worked in, you know, and came into play in the times that I needed them, all on a professional level. I hardly ever did anything for free or got anything for free. I hardly ever did, actually, because I didn't want any long story. I didn't want none of that. I wanted a straightforward, easy thing. So that
Right,
was how I conducted myself.
right. Great stuff. Um, so okay, before we go into Q&A, have you got anything else to add? You know, you said you are more than likely going to go back and do it all over again. So, based on your journey up until the point where you had to leave because of kids and stuff, and everything you've dealt with, and how you've the staffing, you know, whatever setbacks and stuff, in a couple of bullet points, what will you do differently if you're to go back into the same country like Nigeria to restart your business? What will you do differently?
Um, hmm.
When I
Mm,
say differently,
I would.
like what will you improve upon, or you know, now based on your experiences so far? What is it that you would say? Okay, you know what, I'll do
I'll be a
this.
little bit more patient. I'll be a little bit more patient. A little bit more patient.
What, with your staff or with
Patient.
the entire process?
I would say with staff. with staff. I had a really stringent way that I needed things to be done, because that was what I was doing in Atlanta as well. And I would be a little bit
So
more
do you think
difficult for sure.
by being, no, I get what you're saying. I get that. By being what, stringent, as you said, did that have any sort of adverse effect on how you executed your business at the time, or why would you want
Well,
to be less
it wasn't
stringent now?
stringent. It wasn't stringent for me because this was the standard that I had here. But the culture in Nigeria comes into play. You know, the culture
Right.
in Nigeria comes into play, and I always refer Nigeria because that's where I have experience with. So I would assume Africa. It comes into play. You know, the way the strictness. You know, come back from break at so and so time, and needs to. And then if you're late, why were you late? You have to have an explanation. When I was working, that's what I did. I had to go
Yeah.
to work at a certain time, you know, so things like that. Um, so I would maybe relax a little bit and kind of have a little bit of wiggle room on some things and not work the way I worked, I guess,
Right.
because
Right.
whatever standard I had for other people, I had for myself.
Right. Right. Awesome. So, 1 second. Before we go into Q&A, do you have, are you on social media like Instagram, or people are asking if they can connect with you?
Yeah, that's Juliana dot Richards.
Is that your Instagram, right?
Yes, at Juliana dot Richards.
All right. Connect. 1 second. I'm trying to connect with Julie. 1 second. At Juliana. Is it Julian
A.
dot Richards, right?
Correct.
That's on Instagram.
Correct. Mm-hmm.
Okay, I'll just put that on the screen. So if you'd like to give her a follow, please go ahead and do so. So that's on the screen. So, I think you've done an amazing job, right? So
Oh,
I
thank you.
am going to. So guys, thank you for paying attention. So it's Q&A now. Let me have your questions, and I'll take a few questions and put them across to Jules, and then she can hopefully answer them to the best of her knowledge. This one is direct to the point. Leslie said, how did she? Oh, somebody's asking, what's her business name, please? Do you still have your business in the States going?
Yeah, I do have the business in the state going, but I don't want to disclose. Sorry.
All right. All right. Cool, cool, cool. No
Thank you
worries.
thank you for asking. It's all love.
Yeah, yeah. Because of third parties and stuff. I get it. What's right? Let's put it this way. Somebody said, how did you control stealing, like theft from from staffs and stuff like that?
Um, Let me give
Did
you
you
a
have any
scenario.
monetary losses? Did they steal
Yeah,
from you?
yeah. Let me give you a scenario of one that I caught, and I caught it myself while I was in Atlanta. Um,
Not in
as
your
I
business
always
back in Nigeria, right?
correct, yeah. As I always did. Um, Mind you, I also had staff in Atlanta, and I'd had theft occur as well. So we already know the stereotype, that the negative side of the stereotype that Nigeria has. You know, so I'm not gonna sit here and let anyone think that their country is better and they have a
I
better.
like
You
that.
know, I have experience with staff stealing here in the United States, and these are Americans too. You know,
So it's
so
not unique. It's not
so I'm
unique
just
to
giving my
Nigeria.
disclaimer. Yeah, I'm just giving my disclaimer. So hold your thought. Don't be out here trying to say nothing while I go into this conversation. So I did. This was the only one that I did notice. So I had a staff. Oh, I always watch CCTV like a gate woman, security guard. I'm watching CCTV. I'm watching CCTV on my phone, and I hear conversation about, oh yeah, the lady said she was gonna pay, and yeah, she was, and this is my location in Abuja. she was going to pay, but yeah, she's going to put it in my bank account. Are you sure? Oh, which account? You know, just this conversation that seemed weird. I increased the volume. I'm listening. Like, what? I'm talking 2 o'clock in the morning with my children sleeping. I'm trying to nurse one, and the other one is, you know, I'm dealing with CCTV and looking, and I start to pay closer attention. I'm getting super upset. I'm getting pissed, and then I call the supervisor, you know, and I told her she was in Lagos. She got a ticket and went to the Abuja location. She went there first thing, the first flight to Abuja. She went there, and she was there. I didn't even tell her exactly what's going on. She was there, and then while she was there, I was able to now confront them because she was there, right? I confronted them. Lo and behold, they were buying from me because we were also selling wholesale. They were buying from me wholesale and selling to my customers retail. Right. I don't know if they were selling at a lower price. I don't know, but they were buying from me wholesale and selling to my customers that I was hustling to get in there with my marketing and all that. Selling to my customers.
Oh.
Yes, they were selling to my customers retail. So I shut it down. Of course, I terminated their employment immediately and then reached out to my staffing agents. I got people working, training, you know, the next day, and we moved on, like I did here too.
Nice.
That was one of them. So it's funny because I've had different things that would happen, but they're happening as a collective, as a business, because those same things are happening here. I mean, I had a girl here in Atlanta. She was supposed to be the supervisor. We had just hired an employee. That was working under her. And she calls us, oh, I already left. I gave the employee the key to the store because I had an emergency with my grandma. You had an emergency with your grandma and you didn't even come in and let me know to come to the store and hold the key. You gave it to the new person to hold. You left. This is in the US, guys. A few years down the line, she's contacting me because she wants a job. Come on, So if I had any kind of obstacles, they weren't necessarily obstacles. They were business, same old, different day business stuff that any business owner would tell you that they're going through, and they will go through tomorrow.
Right. Fantastic. Thank you. So somebody asked here, said, why didn't you sell the business instead of quitting and throwing your employees back into the labor market?
I wasn't quite sure if I wanted to get back into the business. I wasn't quite sure if I wanted to resurrect the business again. You know, my hard work of the name, the data, the contacts were priceless to me. And if I want to resurrect the business again, I can. And in Nigeria, the way things like that run, I have not seen a situation where someone would actually I'm not saying from my view, there's certain things that we value and some things that we don't think are worth the money. Some people, right. I didn't see it as a business that people would feel like, oh, you know what? Let me buy from you and buy your contacts and buy your customer list and all that kind of stuff and pay you the money you're asking for because you know what it's worth. You know what I mean?
Right. They would want to knock it down.
Yeah, they'd rather start their own and be a competitor or whatever than, pay you the money that you feel you deserve for the business. At the end of the day, I'm running a business. You know what I mean? There was sentiment for sure, but there was also the business aspect of it.
All right, great stuff. Somebody asked here, House of Coffee, how much did she start the business with?
Oh my God. Okay, I did start the business at the physical location at an expensive place in Lagos at the time. Lagos is one of the most expensive places in Africa, I would say. If I will go there, $50,000.
Say, how much?
I invested $50,000 to start the business. And that was with shipping my products there, getting the location, my well-being while, my upkeep while I'm there, getting staff, all the risks and everything in place. That was my initial put into the
Right.
business.
So somebody asked, at what point did you achieve your break even in the business after your initial investment?
The last year that we left, the last
So
year,
you
a lot of
broke
the
even and you
times,
made profits.
correct. A lot of the times, the U.S. business was supporting the Nigerian business because, for example, um, a lot. Okay, another setback we had was we always, for some reason, when we had our dispatch riders, they were always getting caught by road safety and all that kind of stuff. They're always coming up with some new rule, some new law, and each time they get caught, get arrested, you pay a fine. Each time you pay a fine. You pay a fine for the road safety. You pay a fine for always there was always something. Sometimes I wonder if that was real, but there was always something to pay for with the road safety. The other side of it too was when we eventually started to rent our location. There are times that some areas did not have the kind of service where the landlord provided electricity full time. So we now had to get generators. We now had to man the generators with fuel and all this kind of stuff. So we had those expenses. Um, my staff members, I did not pay them the bare minimum that I could pay them. Okay. I was increasing salaries every year. So these things were part, and then when I would go to Nigeria, my upkeep, all that all that fell into the business expense of handling, the business.
Right, right, okay. So let me see another question here. Um, Somebody said, how can you break even and close knowing fully well the break even is a motivation? She had to raise young children. Where were you? I
It's okay.
chew
I
daily.
understand. No, trust me, I understand it. I cried. I cried about it. I took time away, park at a parking lot, cry my eyes out because I didn't want my children to see me crying. I was extremely upset and just emotional, but I had to let it go because it gets to a point in your life where you realize that money isn't everything and you have the opportunity to walk away if you want to. Fortunately for me, my my peace of mind and my sanity and the opportunity to not miss out on this chance with my kids was more important, and I could afford to walk away and change course, and that's just clearly what it was.
That's fine. I think the way I tend to view life is first of all, I can't stress enough. I appreciate you for the selfless, time you've put into these because you owe nobody an explanation. Okay, anyone can learn from anyone else's life. Take it as a case study. Okay, but also let's learn to respect people's choices and stuff like that.
Oh
So
no,
it's
no, no,
very
I understand. I actually
because some
understand. I
people are
actually
thinking, money and I get it, talking business terms, people might be thinking, oh, you broke even, you started making XYZ and then you dropped it. That might not be in business terms, that might
yeah.
not be an ideal approach. But then again, when it comes to family, when you have children, it comes into the mix. I was going to ask, in line with that, you mentioned your partner, your husband, briefly. Did he have a specific role in that business to support you? Because you said he was in Atlanta, right?
Yeah.
Um, I'm talking in terms of what you were running whilst you were on ground in Nigeria. Did he have any role, or was it just you alone in the front end doing it?
It was mostly me in the front end. There were times that he went to Nigeria on my behalf when I wanted to spend more time with my kids. But we have a business in Atlanta that we run that needs a lot of our attention. You know what I mean? So he handles that. He handles that. We have staff, we have warehouses, so he handles that. So while I do this, my midlife crisis thing I was doing in Nigeria.
Right.
Yeah, I do understand people asking this question. I'm obviously here to convince you guys that it is possible to run a business, and please consider Nigeria, consider Africa. Don't throw it away. If you can, do run a business. I owe them that explanation of my credibility. I owe them that explanation of the decisions that I made
Right.
Because I would ask that question as well. Okay, if it worked out, then why did you leave? You know what I mean? I totally understand that. Fortunately for me, I was in a position where I could make a life decision, and I did.
Fantastic. I respect that. This gentleman asked here, what company did you use for shipping your products? Like, can you drop a name
Yeah.
if you can?
What's the name? I will. I can provide you guys with that information, I guess, later on, Phrankleen. But what is it? Pinnacle. I don't remember as much anymore. I don't remember the specific name anymore because eventually we moved on
If you after the video, right? If you're able to push me an email and give me the name, I can drop
yeah,
it as a comment
yeah.
under the video and pin it to the top. So anyone
Right.
that wants to benefit from that information can do. So let me see a couple of more questions and then we wrap up.
But also,
Well,
down the line, we
yeah.
eventually were able to, because a lot of the products were made overseas, were not even made in the US. So
Yeah,
eventually,
someone was
I
asking,
cut
how do
that.
you sell your products?
Correct. So the products were not made in the US, they were made overseas. So I cut the US side of it out because for about 2 years we were sending from the US to Nigeria. So I cut the US out and I got my suppliers and manufacturers to send directly from where they were to Nigeria. That just saved me a whole lifetime, you know.
Right.
So yeah.
And it saves you what do you call it now? It saved you in terms of what cost as well.
Um Saves me, I don't know. You mean like money wise or
Yeah, yeah.
percentage? Hmm.
Money wise, when you get your supplier to send directly to Nigeria instead of you going to America first and then to Nigeria, you get to save money, right?
Yeah, I got to say, yeah, I literally was able to save. I would say maybe a good 20% of all our costs, all our shipping and logistics costs when it came, yeah, cost of doing business, part of it. Yeah.
Right, right. Okay, fantastic. Let me look for um let me see. I'm looking for one or two questions, and if anyone's got a question, throw your question now. Couple of questions, and then I'll let Jules go. Oh, how is? Hang on. Which? Or somebody said which product? These are the latecomers. Which product were you dealing in? Do you think supermarket is a good idea? I don't know if you can answer
I
that.
can answer
Let me,
that. Absolutely, I can answer that. I did see a couple of
it's on
supermarkets.
this. It's on the screen. Can you see it?
Yeah, yeah, I do. Which products? Yeah, yeah, I do see it. I do think supermarket is a good idea. It really does depend on what you're trying to sell and how much you will be charging because Nigerians are very well, Nigeria specifically, are very
Hmm.
informed. So you can't just go and be charging anything just because you're a supermarket. Like you need to be competitive because there are many competitive stores all over Nigeria. There's supermarkets all over Nigeria, but you will definitely get great patronage for sure because that's a very good business. You need to have your price needs to be amazing. Your products need
Right.
to be top notch. Do not think you're gonna bring some inferior product because I had a moment of that too. I had a moment of that, and I had a moment of that. I sent some products to Nigeria that I just thought, oh, they won't mind. No, customers complained. They didn't even buy it. Okay, Nigerians have a good eye for good things, and they'll pay for it. The
Fantastic.
ones who want to will pay for it. So have a good product, have good pricing, and you will love your business in Nigeria. You will love it.
Right. This one is very important. Somebody said, "How do you deal? How did you deal with taxis and customs?"
The shipping company handled taxes and customs. They were a door-to-door company. I may have paid a little bit more, one more headache out of my life.
Right. So apart from the shipping side of things, which I understand, in terms of you making money running your business day to day, did you have to deal with taxis or any other governmental fees and stuff?
Oh no, okay. I thought they meant shipping, customs, shipping. Um, Taxes. I had, once again, I had a staff member who was designated to filing our monthly taxes for, what is it, sales tax and all that kind of stuff in the local areas that we were. So I had people who their job was to do that. So yes,
Right.
you do pay, sales tax and all that kind of stuff over there as well.
Right. Okay. Fantastic. Somebody asked me, and could you
The
please
QR
ask
code.
her? the QR code stuff that the staff were using to clock in and the app. If you got the information, please kindly share it so I can put it up for people. I'm sure this
Yeah.
will help
Let
people.
me look. What is it called?
Those QR codes wouldn't work for bricklayers, For those of you,
What is it?
mobile phone.
I'll look for it. I'll look for it. But there's also software that I used in getting staff members in being able to monitor their screens or monitor the time they spent on their screen. When I had them working virtually, I had a software that took screenshots each time and recorded everything that was going on their screen. Whenever there was no activity, it also recorded that. It records when they're logging in, when they're logging out, and all that kind of. This was called Money Task, monitask.com. Money Task.
Sorry, what does that Money Task do?
Money Task helps you with virtual employees.
Right. Okay.
So it helps you in general with virtual employees, and this is what I used with my Nigerian employees. I downloaded it on the computers, and that's what I used. And a lot of the downloads and stuff, I was doing it remotely. I would log into each computer and I'll do it remotely. So it was
Right.
not things I was handling myself.
Money, is it MONI or NEY?
Correct. MONI, Money Task. MONI.
Okay, go on.
The QR code, I used it for years. Something logging. I'll look for it.
If you can't remember that now, please, if you can push me an email later, just give me a couple of those. I'll tell you one of those things that, so that I can just put it in the comment section and anyone that wants to go into business. Because usually the reason I'm asking is recommendations do help. It cuts down the processes of people guessing or falling into the hands of unscrupulous people that might. So if an organization comes recommended, like if, for example, Jobberman. So anyone that wants to go and start something knows that, okay, let's look into, Jobberman and stuff like that. So it's basically what I'm trying to suggest here.
So you can get any remote staff login service anywhere, because I just simply Googled it. It wasn't even referred to me. I Googled it, did a little bit of research. I found it, and they had an app, luckily, and I got it downloaded on the phones and the iPad, so they could log in on any device, right?
Right.
And get that recorded there. So yeah.
Right. Somebody said, I think I'll make this the last question. Somebody's saying, how much did you get your CCTV, please? I want one for my store.
I don't know. I don't remember exactly how much I paid at the time, but there are many CCTV cameras you can get from Amazon or anywhere else. So actually, there is a Amazon-like website in Nigeria called Jumia.com. They have several CCTV devices there. They will deliver. It is 100% not fraudulent at all. I have purchased a lot of things on Jumia.com or Jumia.com.ng. You can order your CCTV there. There's CCTVs that are okay. So there are CCTVs, of course, there too that are wireless. Because the one I used when I first got there, it had wires. It had, it was just bulky. But there are those that are just the CCTV alone, wireless, Wi-Fi, microphone, everything. You can actually talk to your staff from the camera. I mean, as we all know, those devices are available in Nigeria. When it comes to buying your computers, there is a place called Computer Village. Computer Village is in Ikeja, Lagos, and also Victoria Island at Sakatinumbu in Lagos. These people.
Your Yoruba is quite good.
Thank you. When you meet a seller that you like or that you trust, you get to just text the seller or call the seller. Hey, I need one more laptop. Hey, I need one more iPad. They tell you how much it is. They deliver it to you. You send them the money. Boom. So it really eventually starts to get so easy to do. But of course, the aspect of you managing the staff and all that is another job.
Right. 1 second. I'm trying to reply someone here.
So I'm
amazing.
Sure in case you're in a position to be able to do that, you can successfully do that.
So that's a wrap. Thank you very much, Jules. I really from the bottom of my heart, and I'm sure everyone feels the same. I really appreciate your time. Okay. Let me just say, for the purposes of simplifying things, nobody's saying Jules's list or experience are in fact exhaustive when it comes to running a business. Your journey might be totally different from hers, but she's basically shared some honest, very helpful information that's basically unique to herself and her journey. So you might be able to do certain things differently. She's given us very helpful nuggets and stuff. So if she's able to provide me with that information about the QR code thing for staffing and stuff, if I get that from her later on, I'll pin it in the section, comment section,
I think I,
later on.
I think I actually remember. I think it's
Oh, if
login.
you have it now, it's all well and good. So thank you to everybody. If you haven't, smash the like button. And say thank you to Jules for her time. She's been amazing. Thank you. If you want to send me an email, send an email to foodchannel1960@gmail.com. And I'm back here tomorrow, I think about 2 p.m. I'll promote the next show. I've got somebody else who's going to talk alongside business like you've done, about how he built his own hustle here in the UK to get to where he is. So hopefully people will be able to learn from it. But from me and Jules, peace. Have a nice day. Bye bye now. Bye.